This Andrew Bolt guy, he's just the classic gatekeeper. So here he is supposedly explaining Malcolm Turnbull's frantic manipulations of Australian politics, all the while holding the truth. So just read down the left-hand side. You don't need to read the rest of the article. This is a summary of it. Turnbull's rejection was huge, robbing him of the huge affirmation that comes with being Prime Minister of Australia. So he attributes all of Turnbull's actions to nothing more than his personality. What a load. He doesn't mention Goldman Sachs. He doesn't mention any of that. I will in a minute. But Andrew Bolt also he's not backwards in participating in these little sort of psyop hoaxes because he was involved in one himself. I didn't do a video on it, but we'll have a quick look at it now.
Wandering down a Melbourne street, Andrew Bolt unaware of an imminent assault.
So there he is, casually walking down the street, and look at how the camera tracks him. So obviously it's been truncated or the camera's moving, but either way, this has all been set up to capture this little vision for their little psyop, and he's just totally unaware about what's going to happen. And of course, once he gets inside, there's another camera just positioned absolutely perfectly for what's about to happen.
A woman asks for a selfie when a masked man throws a cup full of liquid and glitter, dousing the News Limited columnist. Almost instantly, the broadcaster retaliates with a haymaker.
Even though this is meant to be a coffee shop that's open during trading hours, fortuitously, there is nobody else there right where the fight takes place. No one's sitting at the table and chairs and right where this camera is. Oh, God. This was just so staged. Oh, look at this. They've rehearsed this, haven't you, Andrew? God, you're such a sellout.
The bullies are not allowed to win in my book.
Tables tumble and another masked man joins in. A third offender stands back taking photos of the fracas. One falls to the ground and receives a kick to the groin. It's then the trio turn on their heels.
I wasn't, panicking or anything like that at the time. It was just like it was a script.
He's been such a smart aleck there. He knows. Just that's for all the other people that know that it was scripted. I'd just be the smart ass for saying it was like a script. That's because it was.
After the incident, witnesses reported seeing two people fleeing through the park across the street, while the man with the camera took off heading north along Lygon. Police are now investigating.
I couldn't find anything where they were arrested or any court cases, which would, of course, go towards also proving that it was a hoax, because then Andrew Bolt doesn't have to, lie and give testimony under oath, which is what he would have done had they been caught. So it ticks all the boxes of a hoax because Andrew Bolt wasn't hurt. There was no one there when the footage was taken. It was all a controlled environment, of course. And, they happened to know that he was there, or did they just attack him on, they had a camera ready? How do they know he was going to be there? This ticks all the boxes. And also, they were never caught. So, of course, Andrew Bolt didn't have to go before a magistrate and swear on oath because he would have been lying. So, they're all just off scot-free. But I couldn't work out what was going on here. Asia investigating nation's baristas after alleged hate crime against Andrew Bolt. Where did that come from? So obviously, they're trying to reaffirm that hate can be a crime, even though it's just a human emotion. I mean, they acted on it, but it's just a crime where they just assaulted him. What's this hate crime? So that might have been the psyop that he's participating in. And I read through it. It was just more confusing than anything. That's one thing. It says ridiculous things like this. Asia have announced they're investigating possible links to free trade coffee retailers and frequenters of university library lords. What the hell? This is, the news today just makes no sense at all. If anyone can make sense of why Asia are doing that, what their leads are and what all the connections they made, it's just got more and more ridiculous. And representatives from Asia have today confirmed the perpetrators most likely weren't on parole, because they were just a bunch of timid lefties who don't appear very adult. Okay, so they're trying to get that left-right paradigm because that's what he's all about. We're investigating inner-city cafes for anyone who might have they're trying to find out who they are. When they're making inquiries, they're not investigating the cafes. What have they got to do with it? It was pretty unimpressive, to be honest, I think this second last paragraph here, I think this might be a bit of the psyop too. While shocking and unexpected, the assault only confirmed that Australian men need not worry as much as women when it comes to violent outbursts from fellow males. I don't know, a couple of guys got killed up on King's Cross from punches to the head. So if that's their psyop, that's the message. It's just ridiculous. Oh, God. Wasn't it David Hooks got killed by punch or something? One of those cricket stars did? Maybe that was the psyop. But either way, Andrew Bolt is a sellout and he was a part of this. That psyop had a few messages there which were somewhat confusing, but I think it was meant to try and confirm the left-right are at war, they're battling and you've got to fight back. That's what he's all about, trying to keep that paradigm going so that no one actually looks at who the controllers are, which of course is the banks and Goldman Sachs, who he doesn't mention. And this is his bread and butter work here, where he's right in the midst of what he's paid to do, which is distract everybody. What is Turnbull's meddling all about, really? He got booted as PM because of that national energy guarantee, and that was going to shut down Tomago Aluminium, which I'll get to in a minute. But what he did straight away was to quit Parliament, and that was in order to destabilise the government and lose their one-seat majority. Immediately after he had left Parliament, now he could have just stayed at home and relaxed, or he could have gone on holiday anywhere around the world, but where did he head straight to? Like straight after, because time was of the essence here, he went straight to New York. Like any media really focusing on him over there, and they didn't show too much. But he made out like he was on holidays with Lucy. Again, he went straight to New York. So what else is in New York? Goldman Sachs' headquarters is in New York, and that's where he's gone straight away. Like I said, time was of the essence. Because Goldman Sachs really entered Australian politics when they bought Channel 9 and then got Turnbull elected. And from there, Turnbull then installed Finkel and all of these other fellow Goldman Sachs operatives into all the public service areas. I'll do that in another video. But it was a bit unexpected. His plan, and I mentioned in a video about a year ago, his plan was to hand over a big debt to Labor and then blame the debt on Labor and come back as our saviour during negotiations trying to get a bailout. That's what his plan was. But also, as I just mentioned, he wanted to introduce that NEG, the National Energy Guarantee, which is designed to close down Tomago. Now, Abbott and his operatives, now I'm not saying Abbott and that are the good guys, they might align with us only on this one point, but look, Abbott's got his other problems as well. I don't really like him that much, but just on this, at least he was trying to save Tomago. So they've kicked him out. Now, that's been a bit of a speed bump only in Goldman Sachs's plans to shut down Tomago and also continue with the debt and hand over that debt to the Labor Party. So during those meetings with Goldman Sachs that Turnbull had, he would have been talking to their top strategists. Obviously, the first thing they needed to do was to lose the Wentworth seat and made sure they held it by 17%. So they really needed to throw in a dog of a candidate in order to lose it. And so they've picked this Dave Sharma guy who, campaigned very mediocrely. First of all, he had to get pre-selected. And I did a video on that, but in my truth about the Wentworth by-election. But that was the first thing as part of their plan that they concocted while he was in New York. Of course, Sharma lost the election, as he always intended to do, and Karen Phelps won. And here we got Karen Phelps amid talks with Malcolm Turnbull and help from his staff. Look, when he went back to New York, they had to get more funding because he needs to, reward a lot more people now, particularly Karen Phelps, because she wasn't in the equation. He expected to hold on to his seat and hand straight over to Labor, but that got this little speed bumps occurred. So he would have needed funding. Now her medical practice or donations to her causes are going to go through the roof. So she's now on board. And of course, Turnbull had his existing Goldman Sachs paid for people. One of them is Julie Bishop. And the plan is for Morrison to lose the election by a lot, which is what the Goldman Sachs media is trying to angle for. And then he gets kicked out, and then Julie Bishop then be made leader of the Liberal Party. So that way they've got control of the Liberal Party again, because she's a banker person from way back. Watch Brendan O'Connell's videos. You can see some of his videos. He alludes to that with her. And here she is with Karen Phelps, of course. Now, Karen Phelps is now Goldman Sachs. But what these two did was they got Julia Banks to resign, as you can see here, further putting pressure on the guys that stopped the National Energy Guarantee from going through. And all the while, they're still going after Peter Dutton, who initiated the coup that got rid of Turnbull. And they want to get him as a lesson to anyone else that tries to take on these Goldman Sachs plants. This is what will happen to you. And here's just Julie Bishop, just very recently trying to get Morrison to do a deal with Labor on his National Energy Guarantee because they're focused on getting rid of Tomago. Something else that Malcolm Turnbull had to tee up while he was over in New York negotiating with Goldman Sachs was funding to buy up Bill Shorten, because they want to buy up as least people as possible. They want to keep their costs down, and they tried to get rid of Bill Shorten. Remember the AFP raids and all the negative coverage he was getting about his polls, and they were pushing Anthony Albanese. Well, that didn't work. Shorten stayed there, so reluctantly they now have to pay off Bill Shorten. Bill Shorten's now Goldman Sachs. And if you watch his latest videos, he's a lot quietly spoken and more self-assured and more cautious because he's now working for Goldman Sachs, not for the Labor Party anymore. So, yeah, just watch his latest videos. But, of course, Turnbull teams up with Shorten on energy. So, well, yeah, Turnbull's quite private life, he's out of the public eye now. Look, all he's done, he's got back from New York, he's just try and get this national energy guarantee through, and it's all to destroy Tomago aluminium. So yeah, now Bill Shorten's now on board. In my video I did about a year ago, he was outside of the bankers, but now they've decided that reluctantly they've got to include him as well. Here is why the bankers want to get rid of Tomago aluminium. If you read this, our story, Tomago aluminium is Australia's largest aluminium smelter and operating 24 hours a day since 1983. The company contributes 1.5 billion annually to the Australian economy, of which 800 million is spent locally. The smelter produces 585,000 tonnes, which is 25% of our primary aluminium. 90% of the product is exported to the Asia Pacific region. Now that is export revenue for Australia. Now if they can knock over Tomago, that is just going to wipe out $1.5 billion to our economy, wipe out all of that exports, then our trade balance is going to always be in deficit. So that is why Goldman Sachs, they want a Tomago aluminium. They're still focused on it. And this NEG is all about getting rid of it. He is our right-wing hero, our Mr. Punch-On Man. He's on our side. He's a conservative. He's not a gatekeeper. This wasn't staged. Well, according to him, all Malcolm Turnbull's doing is just personal. He's just pissed off that he's no longer PM. Just going to New York, no, nothing in that. All his meetings, putting Dave Sharma in, meeting with Karen Phelps, meeting with Bill Shorten. No, it's just nothing to do with it. Just he's just really annoyed that he's no longer PM. Jeez, he's a bad guy, Malcolm Turnbull. Thank God we've got Punch-On Man, right-wing conservative, Andrew Bolt on our side. Oh, what a sellout. All right, that's it for this one.